All right. I'd like to say good evening. To everybody that's online, on the phone line also. It's Brother Nate. Brother Nate, and read for me tonight is Brother DeMarcus. Peace. And we're going to go ahead and open up for question and answer Bible study. We ask that the sisters cover your heads and brothers uncover your head as we go and open up for prayer. And you go ahead. Lord's Prayer, right? Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. Thy will be done. In earth. As it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us of our debts. As we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation. But deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom. And the power. And the glory. Forever. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, so yeah, like I said, I'd like to welcome everybody to Bible study this evening, question and answer. It's a pleasure for us to be able to host it this evening. But with that being said, I'd like to go and open up the floor to any questions that you may have regarding anything you might have been reading over this week. That's for anybody, whether it be online or on the phone line.
I have a question.
Okay. State your name, where you calling from.
Sister Patricia from West Lafayette, Indiana.
Okay. Hey, Sister Patricia, how you doing this evening?
All is well.
Oh, that's good. Okay, what's your question?
It's in 2 Samuel chapter 23. Actually, I have about 6 questions, but I think I'll do them whatever you say. The first one is in 2 Samuel chapter 16, and it is in verse 23.
2 Samuel chapter 16.
Yeah.
In verse 23.
Yeah.
That's my water machine. It sounds like ice over there. Rain.
My question is.
I
can't understand you. Did you ask me what was my question?
Yeah, I'm listening to you. What's your question?
My question is, what is the oracle of God?
2 Samuel 16, verse 23. Oh, okay. And the counselor. Okay, so the question is, what is the oracle of God?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, that's a good question. Give me 1 second, okay?
Okay. Everyone else is now muted.
Okay, so since Patricia was asking a question, for those of you online who might not have heard it, it was coming from, peace, Brother Jonathan. The question is actually coming from 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 23. So let's come back to start at verse 20. 20. Okay, go ahead.
Then said Absalom to Ahithophel, give counsel among you what we shall do. And Ahithophel said unto Absalom, go in unto thy father's concubines, which he had left to keep the house, and all Israel shall hear that thou art a whore of thy father. Then shall the hands of all that are with thee be strong. So they spread Absalom a tent upon the top of the house, and Absalom went in unto his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. And the counsel of Ahithophel, which he counseled in those days, was as if a man had inquired at the oracle of God.
Go ahead.
So was all the counsel of Ahithophel, both with David and with Absalom.
Okay, so it's just really stating, giving you a measure, I should say, in a sense of how important this guy's counsel was. You know, how much respect they put on it. So in other words, you know, it's almost like you getting an answer from God himself. You understand? So that's all that's saying. That's why I said in the counsel of Ahithophel, which he counseled in those days, or the advice or the counsel that he gave in those days, was as if a man had inquired at the oracle or answer from God. So was all the counsel of Ahithophel, both with David and with Absalom. So, you know, during that time, from what we're reading here, he was the one, you know, that would be giving them their advice or their counsel. But it's almost, based on what I'm reading in 23, it's almost like they was getting the answer directly from God. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up something up. I'm going to see if I can get something to match, go with that. Make sure no sound. Okay. All right, let me see what's going on online. Facebook. What's up with that?
Yeah, they got text with Jules. No sound.
No sound. Okay. Y'all give us 1 second. I'm gonna end this and come back on Facebook. All right, done. Okay. Give me 1 second.
You sound we can hear you on YouTube.
Stereo mix. I think it's microphone. Okay, tell them I got it. It was this one, right? It was a stereo mix, right?
No, it was a microphone.
No, not stereo mix.
It was a
microphone? Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. All right, so for those who couldn't hear us online on Facebook, you should be able to hear us now. All right, so now what I'm doing for you, Sister Patricia, I'm just trying to see if I can get a witness on that right quick. But that's basically what I see right there. You know, like I said, just like it's almost like they're getting the answer directly from God himself. When you look at oracles, it's just talking about answers. Give me 1 second here. Okay. All right, but yeah, that's it on that. Now let's see nothing else on it.
Everyone else is now unmuted. I had another question.
Did you understand that one?
Yeah, I understand that one.
Okay, cool. All right, what's your other question?
The next question is in 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 11.
Okay, what was your question?
Verse 11 and 12. It was saying something about somebody cursing David, and he was saying, let them alone, it may be from the Lord. I just want to understand, you know, about them cursing him. How could that be okay with God?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I understand that. Yeah, right out the gate, I think I can answer that, but we'll read it. All right, give me 1 second. All right, so the question
else is now muted.
All right, so the other question was in 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 11. And read verse 11 for me, bro. What it say?
And David said to Abishai and to all his servants, behold, my son which came forth of my bowels seek my life. How much more now may this Benjamite do? Let him alone and let him curse, for the Lord hath bidden him. It may be that the Lord will look on mine affliction, and that the Lord will requite me good for his cursing this day.
Okay, so now starting bring it up to chapter 16, verse 1. Let's see what's going on right now. All right, go ahead.
And when David was a little past the top of the hill, behold, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, met him with a couple of asses saddled, and upon them 200 loaves of bread, and 100 bunches of raisins, and 100 of summer fruits, and a bottle of wine. And the king said to Ziba, that meanest thou by these? What meanest thou by these? Mm-hmm. And Ziba said, the asses be for the king's household to be ride on, and the bread and summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine that such as be faint in the wilderness may drink. And the king said, and where is thy master's son? And Ziba said unto the king, behold, he abide at Jerusalem. For he said, today shall the king of Israel restore me the kingdom of my father. Mm-hmm. Then said the king to Ziba, behold, thine are all that pertain unto Mephibosheth. And Ziba said, I humbly beseech thee that I may find grace in thy sight, my lord, O king. And when King David came to Bahurim, behold, thence came out a man of the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shemaiah, the son of Gurah. He came forth and cursed still as he came. And he cast stones at David and at all the servants of King David. And all the people and all the mighty men were on his right hand and on his left. And thus said Shemaiah when he cursed, come out, thou bloody man, and thou man of Belial. The Lord have returned upon thee all the blood of the house of Saul, in whose stead thou hast reigned, in whose stead thou hast reigned. And the Lord had delivered the kingdom into the hand of Absalom thy son. And behold, thou art taken in thy mischief, because thou art a bloody man. Then said Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, unto the king, why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over, I pray thee, and take off his head.
Okay, so now Abishai is standing on behalf. He said, then said Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, unto the king, unto David. In other words, why is this guy speaking against you like that? Let me go take care of him, right? Go ahead and read. What else?
And the king said, what have I to do with you, the sons of Zeruiah? So let him curse, because the Lord hath said unto him, curse David. Who shall then say, wherefore hast thou done so?
Okay, so he said, the king said, what have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? So let him curse, because the Lord hath said unto him, curse David. All right, who shall then say, wherefore hast thou done so? Go ahead.
And David said to Abishai and to all his servants.
Who's going to question that, in other words? Peace, Brother Dwight, how you doing? Hey, Sister Tiana. But he said, in other words, who's going to question that? The Lord said that, and who's going to stop it? Who shall then say, wherefore hast thou done so? And David said to Abishai and to all his servants, behold, my son, which came forth of my bowels, seek my life. Go ahead and read.
How much more now may this Benjamite do it?
So it shouldn't be a strange thing. My son seek my life. How much more now may this Benjamite do it? Go ahead.
Let him alone. Let him curse.
Go ahead.
For the Lord have bidden him.
For the Lord have allowed it. Go ahead and read.
It may be that the Lord will look on my affliction.
Right. So if you leave him alone, let him do it. Maybe the Lord will look on my affliction. Go ahead and read.
And that the Lord will requite me good for his cursing this day.
So maybe have some mercy. You know, me humbling myself, not doing anything regarding what he's saying about me. Maybe the Lord will have some mercy on me. That's why it says it may be that the Lord will look on mine affliction and that the Lord will requite me good for his cursing this day. So evidently, it was a lot of stuff going on with David as far as killing is concerned, which you can go back and you'll be able to see. And that's one reason why the Lord had told David he wasn't going to allow him to build a temple for him. He allowed Solomon to do it. That came up after David. But David just had too much blood on his hands. But we see here, this guy's coming through kind of like, you know, calling it out. You know, mainly saying he got the kingdom from Saul by blood and stuff like that. But that was Saul's son too. You know, that's what it said up in the other verse. But that's what I see when I read that, sister. And I don't want to say that. I don't want to say this for sure that this could be a reason. But David had a lot of stuff going on. You know, David ended up killing the man. He took down a man, and Uriah the Hittite. You know, he had a guy murdered. Took his wife, Bathsheba. And then you had a lot of troubles. You know, Lord said the sword won't going to depart from his house. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, by this guy cursing him this day, maybe the Lord have some mercy. You know, so.
Everyone else is now muted.
So hopefully that help out, sister. Oh.
Everyone else is now unmuted.
So hopefully that help you out, sister, with that one.
Yeah, that helped me out.
Okay, that's good. That's good. All right. So anything else online? Can y'all hear us on Facebook? Because I know the sound was off earlier. It should be back on now. What's up, brother JD? Peace, man. Anything else online? On the phone line, I'm sorry. Anything on the phone line? Nothing?
I have one, Brother Nate.
Okay. State your name, where you calling from. How you doing this evening?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
This is the Cheryl from Dallas.
Sister Cheryl from Dallas.
Okay.
We know it's you though, but we just you know, the formality.
Okay, I would say Luke 1 verse 78. I just
Luke 1. Okay. And what was your question?
it is where it says, "Where by the day spring."
Oh, okay.
I want to say those are angels, but I'm not really for sure.
Okay. That would mainly in that case right there. And actually for those online, it's Luke chapter 1 verse 78. The question Sister Sarah has. It's Luke 1 and verse 78, and that would be good evening, Sister Donna from Canada. That would be more like the word of God. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know, like in several instances in the Bible, light can be referred to as day. Like in another place to tell us that we're children of the day. As a matter of fact, let's go look at a few things right quick. And we're gonna read through this.
Everyone else is now muted.
All right, so now let's bring this up to let's go to now this is regarding right around the time of when the angel came to Mary regarding Jesus getting ready to be born. Early in the chapter, it appeared unto Zacharias. But later on down the line, hold on. Okay, yeah, that's what that chapter is all about. But let's move further along in the chapter. Let's see what we got going on right here. Pick this up at I think this is when start at verse 59. Now start at 57. Now we're gonna look at we're gonna see John being born now. So Luke 1 and verse 57. Because if you don't know, it was a 6-month difference between Jesus and John. John being first, but the prophecies regarding both of them, you know, we can read about those both in the book of Luke. So Luke 1 and verse 57. Go and read that for me.
Now Elizabeth's full time came that she would be delivered, and she brought forth a son. And her neighbors and her cousins heard how the Lord had showed great mercy upon her, and they rejoiced with her. And it came to pass that on the 8th day they came to circumcise the child. And they called him Zacharias, after the name of his father. And his mother answered and said, Not so, but he shall be called John. And they said unto her, There is none of thy kindred that is called by this name. And they made signs to his father, how he would have him called.
Because remember, if you don't recall what took place with Zachariah when the angel came down, Gabriel, and told him that he was going to have a child, he asked the question, you know, how is this going to be possible? So the angel told him, you know, mainly what's going to happen, you ain't going to be able to talk until the child is born. So they write him signs trying to figure out what the name of this son is going to be. So what's going to happen in verse 62? Read that again.
And they made signs to his father, how he would have him called. And he asked for a writing table and wrote, saying, His name is John.
Keep reading.
And they marveled all. And his mouth was open immediately.
So, and this is what happened to Zacharias. Once the child, because that's what angel told him, he was going to be deaf. I mean, he was going to be mute, or he wasn't going to be able to talk, or he was going to be dumb until the child was born. So the child is here now, and now his mouth is open. So in verse 64 it said his mouth was open immediately, and what happened?
And his tongue loose. And he spake and praised God. Fear came on all that dwelt round about them. And all these things were noised abroad throughout all the hill country of Judea.
Go ahead.
And all they that heard him laid them up in their hearts, saying, What manner of child shall this be?
Oh, so they're asking about what type of child is this going to be? He said, What manner of child shall this be? Go ahead and read.
And the hand of the Lord was with him. And his father Zacharias was filled with the Holy Ghost, and prophesied, saying, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he had visited and redeemed his people, and had raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that he would be saved from our enemies, and
that we should be saved from our enemies, right? Because now we got a Savior get ready to come on the scene. But John is going to be the one that's actually going to announce his coming. So Zacharias prophesying, you know, and essentially, you know, you got these two players that are very important piece to the puzzle regarding Israel being redeemed. All right, but before Jesus come, hey, John is the one that's going to make the way for the Lord to come. All right. But when it's all said and done, you know, this is who we're referring to, the one that's going to save Israel here, talking about Jesus. He said, raise up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. What else?
As he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies.
Right. So, but we're not going to be saved by John, right? But remember now, John is the one that was just born. Jesus is the one that's going to save us. Like I told you, hey, John is going to prepare the way for him that's coming. All right. So it said that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. What else?
To perform the mercy promised to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant, the oath which he swore to our father Abraham.
Right, and that's taking you back to Genesis, where how the Lord, made a covenant with Abraham. How he's gonna be a father of many nations, also giving him the promised land, and then when it's all said and done, also everlasting life. That's how he's gonna be a father of many nations. All right, but it's gonna start with Abraham. So now, Zacharias is recalling this covenant, and mainly showing how this is gonna come about. What he say in verse 74?
That he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our life.
That's right, keep reading.
And thou, child, shall be called the prophet of the highest.
Oh, so notice what he said, though, right? Talking about John. He said, now child shall be called the prophet of the highest. So in other words, the highest, hey, we got Jesus coming in the form of a man, but you're going to have this child, John, is going to announce his coming. He's going to introduce him. That's why he said, thou child shall be called the prophet of the highest. For what?
For thou shalt go before the face of the Lord to prepare his ways.
Right. So he's going to be the one that's going to, teach you about him, show you about him. That's why when Jesus came on the scene, he was saying things like, he ain't even worthy to unlatch his shoes. Even though you may be trying to put emphasis on John, or they might have been trying to put emphasis on John. He was letting them know, I'm not the one. There's another one that's coming after me. But you seeing this prophecy, or you seeing this being talked about, why they children, why John is just being born. Jesus ain't even got here yet. But he said, that child shall be called the prophet of the highest, for thou shalt go before the face of the Lord to prepare his ways. But how is he going to prepare? He's going to prepare by, turning people to repentance, talking about this one that's going to come and save. All right, go on and read. What else? Verse 77.
To give knowledge of salvation unto his people.
All right, he said to give what?
Knowledge of salvation.
To give knowledge, to give some understanding, to give knowledge about what it is you need to be saved, to give knowledge of salvation unto what?
His people, by the remission of their sins.
Right, so now just keep that in mind. He said he's going to give knowledge unto salvation unto his people by the remission of their sins. Another place in Matthew, I think 1 verse 21 tell you that the Lord came to save his people from their sins. So, as we go throughout dealing with Christianity and stuff like that, most people don't pay a lot of attention to Israel. But if Israel is not saved, then the world won't be saved. So that's what we have to understand. It always starts with Israel. Then everybody else, then they grafted in. So he said to give knowledge of salvation unto his people by the remission of their sins. What else?
Through the tender mercy of our God.
Right. So that's like that grace that we need. That tender mercy. In other words, because you don't have to give us a second chance. Once Adam dropped the ball, hey, we could have been stuck in that predicament. It does not have to be a second chance, but hey, he got tender mercy. That's why I said through the tender mercy of our God, or from our God, what?
Whereby the day spring from on high had visited us. To give light to them that sit in darkness.
But notice what he said, whereby the day spring from on high have visited. In other words, this light or this understanding that's coming from on high. In other words, but we talking about the word of God, we're talking about this word of God that's going to save this man, but he's considered a light. That's why we are considered children of the day. You see, that's why I say through the tender mercy of our God, whereby the day spring from on high have visited us. It came from up high. It didn't come from down. This ain't nothing that no man has put together. This came from on high. It say, whereby the day spring from on high have visited us. Go ahead and read.
To give light to them that sit in dark.
Wait a minute. To give light to what?
To them that sit in dark.
Right. But what is this light is going to give us? In other words, it's going to give you some understanding now. See, without Jesus coming, then we just walking around in darkness. We don't got no understanding. So they say what? And when I say understanding, we don't have understanding regarding what we need to be saved. But hey, we're gonna have John gonna come, he gonna prepare the way, Jesus gonna come, and guess what? He gonna give us an opportunity for everlasting life. Now let's go finish reading that.
And in the shadow of death,
Uh-huh.
to guide our feet into the way of peace.
Right. So it said to give them light that sit in darkness and in the shadow of death. So even though death is there, but guess what though? He's still gonna give us a way out, in other words. You know, we surrounded by it because of what Adam did, but there is a way out, and it's through Jesus. He said to give light to them that sit in darkness, and that's what we sitting in. That's what most people don't understand. The world is walking in darkness. Like we was looking at this weekend, hey, the world is covered in gross darkness right now. But by way of Jesus, now we have a way out. That's why he's considered the light. Go flip over to John chapter 1 right quick. He said to give them light that sit in darkness and the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. Ultimately, this peace we're talking about this everlasting life. Ain't nothing peaceful about death. Ain't nothing peaceful about sickness and pain. You know what I'm saying? That's why you look at Revelation 21 and it lets you know how we ain't gonna have to worry about this no more. You know, all this stuff we going through right now, listen, this come with sin, but it's gonna come a time we won't have to experience this no more. Right. So John chapter 1, still looking at this day spring, still looking at this light. Go ahead and read. What else?
Verse 1.
Uh-huh.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God,
uh-huh.
and the Word was God.
Right. So we got two individuals here. He said, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was, what it said? In the beginning was the Word, what else?
And the Word, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God.
And the Word was with God. So we got these two individuals. Go ahead and read.
And the Word was God.
And even this Word was also a God. But we're taking you back to the beginning. But let's see what was around in the beginning to help this man. Go ahead and read. What it say,
The
brother?
same was in the beginning with God.
Uh-huh.
All things were made by him.
Mm-hmm.
And without him was not anything made that was made.
Uh-huh. Talking about this Word, though, right? He said all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Go ahead.
In him was life, and the life was the light of men.
Mm-hmm.
And the light shined in darkness,
mm-hmm.
and darkness comprehended it not.
Uh-huh.
There was a man sent from God, whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light.
Uh-huh. Oh, wait a minute. He came to bear witness of what?
Of the light.
He came to bear witness of the light. Because remember now, see, this light that we got, this understanding that we got, this way to salvation that we're now able to attain, it comes from on high. This ain't nothing that, you know, listen, without God ever coming, we would still be sitting in darkness. Because you look at Abraham, you know, pay attention to Abraham, listen, he kept God's commandments, but guess what? He still died though. Moses, meekest man on earth, was even in a form of almost like a representation of Jesus himself. Guess what? He still died though. You know, so you had great people, David, you know, the Bible lets you know he gonna be in the kingdom. You know, Jacob, the father of the 12 tribes, these are good people that's gonna be in the kingdom, but guess what though? They still end up dying. And this is why we need that light to come. You see, but John let you know he's not that light. What else he say?
The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light.
But I'm sorry, bring it back up to verse 5. What is saying verse 5?
The light.
I'll read 4. I was looking at some, I was trying to get some more scriptures. But read verse 4 from what it say.
In him was life.
Right, so we talking about this word. It say in him was life. Because remember now, death is on the table. This is how we sit in darkness. Without this light, without life, without Jesus, we still sit in darkness. So it said in him was life, and what else?
And the life was the light of men.
And this life was the light of men. This is what's going to give you understanding. This is what's going to give you a shot back at everlasting life. It's going to be through Jesus, though. And John is going to tell you about that. That's what, John the Baptist, he going to tell you about him. He going to warn you about him. He going to prepare his way. But go ahead and read. What else he say, brother?
And the light shine in darkness,
uh-huh.
and the darkness comprehended it not.
And it's the same thing going on today. The light is shining in darkness. But listen, like he said, darkness comprehended it not, but it ain't comprehending it because you don't want to comprehend it. That's almost like if you living in sin, you don't want nobody, for the most part, people don't want nobody telling them about their wrongdoing. You know, people don't want nobody correcting them or showing them where they're going wrong. So it's not like God is trying to hide understanding or he don't want you to walk in the light. You know, it's not like he's trying to take it from you. It's just that for the most part, people don't want it. And this is why he's saying, and the light shine in darkness, it's here, it's available. But he say, what in the darkness comprehended it not. Go ahead and read that. What else you say, bro?
There was a man sent from God,
Mm-hmm.
whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light.
And we saw this Luke 1, how we just read up down to 7. And we saw how, hey, John was going to be that prophet to tell us about Jesus coming. So now they're older now, and you seeing this happening. You're seeing an account of it. He said the same came for a witness to bear witness of that light. That what?
That all men through him might be to believe.
Now let's go over to Malachi chapter 4. It's kind of giving you some different examples of how the day spring or how this light, gonna come forth. Let's see here. I don't think Malachi's a good one. Let's see. Now let's look at 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Second Corinthians chapter 4. And while he's looking at 2 Corinthians chapter 4, what it say in Malachi 4:1, I wasn't going to read it, but we hear it. It says, "For behold, the day come that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day comes, shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings." But the Bible is saying here, calling it in other words, giving you an analogy of how the Lord is like, because some people, I even said it before, I thought it was a misprint of Malachi 4:2, because it says, "But unto you that fear my name shall the Son, S-U-N, of righteousness arise." But it's just like, it's likening what Jesus gonna do, when he come. If you believe in him, he just give you an example of how he gonna rise in your heart, like the sun rise every morning. When you fear him and call on his name, guess what? He gonna rise with righteousness upon you. That's why I say, "But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness," not S-O-N, the S-U-N, "arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall." Go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. And we're going to look at, start at verse 1 for me.
"Therefore, seeing we have this ministry, as we have received mercy, we faint not, but have renounced the hidden things of dishonesty, not walking in craftiness, nor handling the word of God deceitfully."
We don't do that. Not even today. We don't do this for filthy lucre. We ain't trying to deceive nobody. But that's what Paul was saying back then. That's the same with us today. We do this because, hey, we trying to get our reward at the end, and we also do it in hopes of others getting salvation. But what else to say, bro?
"But by manifestation of the truth, commending ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of God. But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost."
Now pay attention to what the Bible said. It said, "Now if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost." Now keep in mind, now listen, the light is there, but hey, you gotta want that light though. You understand? Like if you don't want the light, that's why he say in John 1, remember he said, the darkness comprehended it not. So it's almost like Paul saying the same thing. It ain't that it's not here. It's just that some people don't want to deal with it. That's why I say, "But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost." Go ahead and read.
"In whom the God of this world hath blinded."
And who is the God of this world? Satan. So he said, "In whom the God of this world have done what?
Blinded the minds of them."
Not the eyes, not their physical eyes. He blinded what?
The mind.
The minds. You see? So if he blinded the minds, guess what? You that means you can't see nothing. That means you walking in darkness. So that's what he's looking at in Luke chapter 1, verse 7-8. We got that, that day. Hold on, let me look at what it's actually called. Day spring. Yeah, the day spring that arise that came up. But throughout the Bible, you see, it's just, he give you the different examples throughout the Bible. We just talking about righteousness, darkness. We talking about sin. So he said, "Whom the God of this world have blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest what?
the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them.
Right. So notice what he said. He said, lest the light of the glorious gospel. See, in other words, we talk about the gospel. You know, you even hear people saying, well, you know, we're trying to build a kingdom, you know, we kingdom builders. People say that type of stuff. But listen, they hear about the God, but they don't really understand it. Because listen, the way you're going to get this light, the way you're going to get this understanding, you're going to have to keep God's laws. That's when he's going to start shining light or making situations or scriptures in the Bible easy to understand. Like we say, he's going to shed light on the situation. You know, then you'll be able to understand what it takes to get salvation. But until then, guess what? Hey, the minds have been blinded. He said, to whom the God of this world have blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest or unless the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. Go ahead and read.
For we preach not ourselves.
So we're not preaching ourselves because it's not about us. Same with us today. It ain't about us. It ain't about money. It ain't about prosperity. It's about Jesus. That's what this gospel is about. All right. We preach not ourselves, but what?
But Christ Jesus the Lord.
Keep reading.
And ourselves your servants for Jesus' sake. For God, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness.
Wait a minute. Notice what he said, all right? He said, for God, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness. So you got to ask yourself, what are you talking about? What do you mean God commanded the light to shine out of darkness? That only happened one time. You know, we're going to look at that. But he said, for God who commanded the light to shine out of darkness have done what?
Have shined in our hearts.
Oh, okay. So listen, he have shined in our minds. We're not talking about the heart of your chest. We're talking about your mind. He said, for God who have commanded the light to shine out of darkness have shined in our hearts. So now we got some understanding. Now we can see things clear. For God who commanded the light to shine out of darkness have done what?
Have shined in our hearts to give the light of knowledge of the glory of God.
Oh, he say to give the light of the knowledge. See, that's what it's all about. That's why I'm saying that day spring. See, it's Jesus himself. But guess what though? You know, he got some knowledge coming with. He got some understanding coming. He giving you a way out. Ultimately, that way out, hey, he gonna die and shed his blood for us. And now we got some things that you're gonna have to put what you believe in his death. You have to keep his word. You understand? And then on top of that, guess what happens when you start putting all these together? You start understanding the Bible. You can start seeing things a little bit clearer. You can start seeing how the kingdom gonna be set up. You're gonna start understanding the first resurrection and the second resurrection, which many don't even know of. But all this stuff gonna start making sense. Why? Because hey, this light is now being shined in your mind. He said to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God, what?
In the face of Jesus Christ.
Right. So that's how we see it. We see it through Jesus. The plan, the grace that the Father is sending. Hey, you look at it right there at Jesus. That's why we preach him. We don't got to preach nobody else. We preaching Jesus. Everything is coming through him. So now let's go back to Genesis chapter 1. Let's see what it was referring us back to. Because it said, for God, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, have shined in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. So let's just see where this is coming from. Genesis chapter 1. Go on and read that for me.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
So he's saying in the beginning, right? So back to the beginning, what like we read about in the book of John, right? In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. So you don't have 4 and 5 different beginnings. You only got one beginning in the Bible, okay? And you got one beginning in the Bible, and you got 2 that's in the Godhead. So when we were looking at John chapter 1, that was referring to what was taking place in Genesis 1. That was the word of God that we read about in John 1. That's actually Jesus. But guess what? He was around in the beginning. That's why I say the word was God, and the word was with God. So that's your let us make man right there. That's your 2 right there. All right, go ahead and read. What does it say, brother?
And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. The Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. And God said, let there be light.
So now, in the beginning now, because remember now, we talk about that light that that came into the world, and darkness comprehended it not. So you got this, you got Jesus, or you got God letting Moses know what was going down in Genesis. Then you got God letting John know what was going down in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So we still talking about the same light, though. Right here, before the Lord actually puts this plan into effect, we seeing a plan of salvation that's taking place. This is why he said the light of the knowledge that have shined in our heart. So listen, before the Lord even started really getting down and dirty with bringing this creation into play, he got a plan that's going to be set up to save this man in case he dropped the ball, which is exactly what happened. So that's why we need this light to come, which was Jesus. But guess what, though? He's called the word of God. He got some knowledge. He got some understanding. And in order for you to get salvation, guess what? You need to grab hold of that knowledge. So he said, God said, let there be light. And there was light. What else to say? Verse 4.
And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the dark.
Oh, notice what he did, though. He divided the light from the darkness. He saw the light that it was good, right? And God divided the light from the darkness. This took place in the beginning. But if you pay attention to how in different places in the Bible, light is looked at as good, you know. Darkness is looked at as evil and sin. That's why another place lets you know you're not children. You're children of you're children of the day. All right. Matter of fact, I'm gonna look up there. But finish reading that, verse 5.
And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
Right, but there go your separation right there. That's what it was, separation. But like I say, without Jesus, we'd still be in darkness. We'd still be in this darkness. Let's look at some in the New Testament. Oh, man.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Let's go look at that real quick. Don't be afraid to use your technology. That's what it's for. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Believe me, as you get older, you're going to start forgetting all this stuff to that. So use all the tools that you have. We're using each for it right now. All right, so 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, pick it up at verse 1.
But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so come as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction come upon them as travail upon a woman with child.
Okay, so notice what he's saying. He's just talking about how, you know, as we get down to the end of the world, and when the Lord get ready to return, he coming like a thief in the night. And that's what thieves usually show it, right? When everybody's sleeping, ain't nobody really paying attention. So just giving you an example, you know, likening it to how, man, everybody just going about their daily lives, not really paying attention to the signs that are happening, you know. But when it's all said and done, listen, the Lord gonna come like a thief in the night, not in the daytime, because thieves don't really show up in the daytime. That's why if they do show up in the daytime, you know, it's a big, you know, it's almost like, man, that dude was bold. He broke in the daytime. You know, usually people like to do things under the cover of darkness. You know, so he said, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so come as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then what?
Then sudden destruction come upon them as travail upon a woman with child.
That's right. So just saying how it's gonna come, like a woman that's pregnant. She's getting ready to. She's due at any time. This is how it's going to be when the Lord get ready to return. Going to catch everybody off guard. Well, go ahead.
And they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in dark.
Right. So in other words, you got some understanding. You know what's going on. He said, but ye, brethren, are not in darkness. That what?
That day should overtake you as a thief.
What day we talking about? We talking about the day of the Lord. That's why he's saying verse 2, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so come as a thief in the night. So in verse 4, he say, but you, brethren, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. Go ahead and read.
Ye are all the children of light.
Oh, he said, what? You're children of what?
The light.
So you got some understanding. He said, you are children. You are all the children of light. You see? Children of light, listen. Why he turn right around and say, that you ain't sitting in darkness, that day should overtake you. Then he turned right around and say, you children of light. In other words, you know something. You ain't sitting in darkness, that day gonna catch you off guard. You see? He said, you are all the children of light. And what else?
And the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober.
Okay, but notice what he said. You ain't children of you're all children of the light and the children of the day. Remember now, we had that day spring. Remember in Luke chapter 1, verse 7-8, talking about that day spring. But like I say, it's just giving you like a comparison. Daytime being understanding, righteousness and stuff like that. The day spring, listen, that what the Father did for us, that came from the Father. Like I say, no man had nothing to do with that. You see? But that's all being referred to as, in a righteousness, as opposed to being in darkness, being evil and sin and stuff like that. That's why he said in verse 6, therefore let us not sleep as do others, but do what?
But let us watch, be sober.
That's right. So you need to watch and be sober. What is he saying in verse 7?
For they that sleep in the night.
And that's what happened. In the nighttime, this is when a lot of sin going on. For they that sleep, they sleep in the night, or they sleeping in darkness, in other words. For they that sleep in the night. Go on and read.
And they that be drunken are drunken in the night.
Right. But he's just likening how we being righteous or having the light as opposed to those that are walking in darkness. Hey, these are some of the characteristics they carry. You just think about it. Like, I love to get this great example. I mean, and people never really paid it attention, but it's a very true statement. The freaks come out when? At nighttime. That's when all that stuff be going on. I remember people used to tell me when I was coming up, ain't nothing but pimps and hoes out after 12 o'clock midnight. I don't know how true that is. I'm just saying that's what I was told. So, in other words, you need to be in the house. You need to be in the bed, sleep somewhere. And a lot of trouble going on. But he said, but let us who are of the, for they that sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. Go ahead and read. What else?
But let us who are of the day.
Wait a minute. Who are of the what?
Of the day.
Of the day. Do what?
Be sober.
Right, because in the daytime, listen, you ain't really getting too drunk in the daytime, are you? Usually what goes on in the daytime, you getting up, you going to work, you sober and stuff like that. You doing things that are common to man in the daytime. It ain't too common for man to be sitting up here drinking, 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning. That's why Peter said what he said in Acts chapter 2. And he was like, man, these men are drunk when it came to speaking in tongues. And he's like, we ain't been drinking. It's only the third hour of the day. In other words, it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. And if you pay attention to that, he didn't say we want to go drink later on either. He just said it's too early for us to be drinking right now. But the point is that, listen, that's not using. That's not a common characteristic of what takes place in the daytime. Usually in the daytime, everybody's sober, taking care of business. So he's telling you here, look, in verse 8, but let us do what?
But let us who are of the day be sober.
Keep reading.
Putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for a helmet, the hope of salvation.
Right. So just showing you the different comparisons of what it was really hitting on right there. But now let's just open this back up. Hang on.
Everyone else is now unmuted.
Oh, okay. All right, so hopefully that helped, Sister Cheryl.
Yes, it did. Thank you very much.
All right, praise the Lord. You're welcome, Sister. All right, so we got a question online right here. Let's see here. Let's see here. What's up, Brother Jude? Sister Pollard, how you doing? Glad you guys can tune in this evening. All right, so we got a question from Jeff Cunningham. Peace, brother. The question is, I hope all is well for you tonight and may the Most High bless you and all your family. But I have a question. Are Europeans Gentiles? Yes. Europeans are Gentiles. And we can go look at this right quick. Look at some of it. Let's go over to Genesis chapter 10 right quick. And when you want to know about,
Everyone else is now muted.
when you want to know about the table, well, we like to call Genesis chapter 10 the table of nations. So when you go to Genesis chapter 10, after the flood, it's going to give you an account or records of the ones who survived it. So you got Noah and his 3 sons. Now, it was Noah and his wife, his 3 sons and their wives. And from Noah's 3 sons and their wives, this is how the earth was populated. So after the flood, once the flood was over, the Lord gave these 3 sons their inheritance as far as the land masses are concerned. And if you look around today, for the most part, these sons are still in those particular areas, wherever God gave them. But there is one that's for the most part gone, and that's Israel. You know, because Israel is a holy people tied to a holy land, was trying to do some sinful stuff, and it ain't gonna work like that. You know what I'm saying? That's why most people don't understand. Like before Israel can even go into Jerusalem, the Lord took them into the wilderness. You know, and he had, they got to get their mind right before you walk into a holy land like that. That's gonna be the same with what's gonna happen when we come out of America and Haiti and Jamaica and Brazil and all these different places where we've been scattered. The same exact thing gonna happen. The Lord gonna take us to the wilderness. Let's got to get this mind cleaned up before Israel walks into the Holy Land. But for the most part, everybody else is still in their respective places that the Lord gave them. So Genesis chapter 10, we're gonna pick this up at verse 1, and this is looking at his first son Japheth, which is the father of the Gentiles. So Genesis 10, verse 1, what does it say, bro?
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Mm-hmm.
And unto them were sons born after the flood.
Mm-hmm.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Medea, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Rephah, and Togarmah.
Mm-hmm.
And the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim.
Mm-hmm.
By these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families and their nation.
Okay, so now even today, like you look around today, like I said, you can look up, as a matter of fact, you can look up some of these words and you'll see that they actually been translated. They've changed to, other names, but they still in the same, they still line up in the places where they used to. One name on the list we got is Ashkenaz. Everybody, for the most part, knows about Ashkenaz. They call them Ashkenaz Jews, right? Ain't no such thing as an Ashkenaz Jew because that's just a Gentile. You can't be a Gentile Jew, as far as physically is concerned. This is actually a Gentile. Even you look at Javan. Javan means Greek. You see, so that's all coming make up your European nations. And what the Lord gave them, he gave them what's north of what was north of Israel. So like when you look in the Bible, you look at peace, Sister Mary. When you look in the Bible, you'll see different you'll see how when it talks about north and south and stuff like that, and east and west, for the most part, it's referring to everything pertaining to Jerusalem. Jerusalem being the central location. You know what I'm saying? So you look at north of Israel, that's talking about Europe. You know what I'm saying? Then another place in Daniel chapter 11, it'll tell you that Titan's going to bother them come out of the north and the east. I think around Daniel 11:41. That's referring to Russia and Iran and China and all that type of stuff. You see, but it talks about the north. Then it mentions the east because it's coming out of northeast. But the Lord gave them that particular area. So now let's go look at this, because if you pay attention to what we just read, it said in verse 5, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, right? So now let's go look at something. Let's go look at something right quick. You got some other needs, man. Okay. Just be careful with the cords on the floor. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm pulling up something right quick in Daniel. Well, actually, Jeremiah. All right, so we're gonna look at Jeremiah chapter 4. Jeremiah chapter 4. And once again, the question online was, are Europeans Gentiles? So we're talking about the seed that came out of Japheth, those would be the Gentiles. We're not talking about European citizens. You know what I'm saying? Because you got some Hebrews over there in the land, over in Europe and stuff like that. So we ain't talking about that. You got Hamites over there, but we talking about Europeans that come out of Japheth. For the most part, those are Gentiles. All right. So now let's see here. Start at Jeremiah chapter 4. Pick this up at verse 1.
If thou will return, O Israel, saith the Lord, return unto me, and thou wilt put away thine abominations out of my sight. Mm-hmm. Then shalt thou not remove, and thou shalt swear, the Lord liveth in truth, in judgment, and in righteousness. Mm-hmm. And the nations shall bless themselves in him, and in him shall they glory. In him shall they glory. For thus saith the Lord to the men of Judah and Jerusalem, break up your fallow ground, and sow not among thorns.
So he's just telling you to get your mind right, in other words. Lord trying to have mercy on Israel because, you know, he was trying everything he could not to send us off into captivity, kick us out the land. But, hey, we kept disobeying God. He, like we read here, trying to give him a shot, you know, at trying to fix this, correct their ways. And once again, we're not going to do it. Like he said, for thus saith the Lord to the men of Judah and Jerusalem, break up your fallow ground. In other words, like humble yourself, in other words. Break up your fallow ground and sow not among thorns. Like stop, you know, you need to sow some righteousness. He tell you that in Hosea. You know, stop plowing. If you sow righteousness, you plow, you're sowing wickedness, you're going to plow something like that. I can't remember that. Hosea chapter 10. You know, but he gives that analogy also over there. But it's just talking about, in other words, getting your mind right, getting your head together, humble yourself, start doing what the Lord tell you to do. But thus saith the Lord to the men of Judah and Jerusalem, break up your fallow ground and sow not among thorns. What else?
Circumcise yourselves to the Lord.
Keep reading.
Take away the foreskins of your heart.
Right. See, and it's more important. A lot of people, you know, they have trouble accepting the fact that even when you come in the word, listen, you still got to be circumcised. That's a sign of the covenant, which most people don't understand. However, at the same time, before you know, get so caught up and worrying about you having to go through that process, listen, you got to get your heart, get that skin off your heart first. In other words, get that mess to the Lord and take away the foreskins of your heart. Get that flesh out the way. Go ahead and read. What else?
Ye men of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem, lest my fury come forth like fire and burn that none can quench. Can quench it because of the evil of your doing.
That's right. So the Lord, like I said, the Lord trying to have mercy. He's trying to warn them, tell them to turn. Stop doing what you're doing. Keep reading.
Declare ye in Judah and publish in Jerusalem and say, blow ye the trumpet in the land. Cry. Gather together and say, assemble yourselves.
Go ahead.
And let us go into the defense cities.
That's right. Keep reading.
Set up the standard toward Zion. Retire. Stay not. For I will bring evil from the north.
Wait a minute. He going to bring evil from where?
The north.
Wait a minute. Because remember now, the question is, you know, are the Europeans Gentiles? And like I said, if you go look in the history book, look on maps, biblical map, Atlas of the Bible, you'll see how the different lands that the Lord gave Noah's sons in the respective places, that they went to, for the most part, like I said, they're still there. And even when the Lord get back, even though you have some people that are scattered throughout the world now, Israel scattered not by choice. We disobeyed God, and the Lord sent us into captivity. All right. So in addition, you have some people that have come over to America and moved to different countries and stuff like that by, because they wanted to. But when it's all said and done, listen, when God get back, He's gonna send everybody back to where they came from. And you'll be able to see that He's sending everybody back to what He gave Noah and his 3 sons. They going back to their respective landmasses. But check this out, though. He says, set up the standard towards Zion. Retire, stay not. For I will do what? Read that again.
For I will bring evil from the north.
But we talking about north of Jerusalem. He said, I will bring evil from the north. Go ahead and read. What else?
And a great destruction.
Right, because it's going to be bad. Once I bring him down, listen, it's going to be hell to pay. He said, what? I'm going to bring evil from the north and a great destruction. Keep reading.
The lion has come up from his thicket.
Right, and you look at the beginning of the Gentile dynasty, it starts off with the lion being Nebuchadnezzar. He said, what? The lion has come up from his thicket, and what else?
And the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way.
Oh, he said the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way, right? But which direction is he coming from? He's coming from the north, ain't he? Because guess what? North of Israel, that's Europe up there. And that's where they reside. So the Lord allowed the Gentiles to come down on Israel and take Israel down. And they've been in power ever since. Go flip over to Jeremiah chapter 25. Because see, once they went into power, they've been in power. They're still in power right now. And let's see how long the Lord going to allow this to go on. Once the Gentiles come into power, hey, it's going to be a long time before their rulership is over with. So Jeremiah chapter 20, that's 20. I think I'm on 27. I think I'm on 27. I want 27. Let's pick this up at verse, start at verse 1. Right, go ahead.
In the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, came this word unto Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, thus saith the Lord to me, make thee bonds and yokes, and put them upon thy neck, and send them to the king of Edom, and to the king of Moab, and to the king of the Ammonites, and to the king of Tyrus, and to the king of Zidon, by the hand of the messengers which come to Jerusalem unto Zedekiah, king of Judah, and command them to say unto their masters, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, thus shall ye say unto your masters, I have made the earth, the man, and the beast that are upon the ground by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed meet unto me.
And that was the purpose of him making those bonds and yokes. Just, the Lord, like I say, like we was reading about, breaking up your fallow ground and stuff like that. He was giving an example, just the same what's going on right here. He's telling Jeremiah to make these yokes and put them upon their neck. He's not actually saying that he's gonna put these yokes around all the people in all these different countries that got to come up on the hand of Nebuchadnezzar. He's giving an example. In other words, this man and his family is getting ready to come into power, and everybody gonna have to bow down to him. It ain't gonna be nothing you can do to break away. Listen, Negroes, you're not gonna be able to come together and take down the white man. Because I'm not trying to be funny, but this is what a lot of black folks like to say. They like to say, let's come together. We need to spend our own dollars. We need to do this and set up our own countries and stuff. It don't work like that. God is giving the Gentiles or the white man rulership. And this is what this is representing when he says here, thus saith the Lord to me, make thee bonds and yokes and put them upon thy neck and send them to the king of Edom. So send these bonds. Wait a minute. He said, make thee bonds and yokes and put them upon thy neck, right? And send them to the king of Edom. So you put some bonds and yokes on your neck and send them over to Edom so Edom can see this guy come over there with some bonds and yokes on his neck. And to the king of Moab, and to the king of the Ammonites, and to the king of Tyrus, and to the king of Zidon by the hand of the So send these messengers over there with these bonds and yokes on their neck. So these kings can see this is what I'm getting ready to do to all y'all. In other words, y'all getting ready to come up under the rule of this Gentile. Remember now, he's coming from the north. He said what? He says, the king of Ammonites and the king of Tyrus and to the king of Zidon by the hand of the messengers, which come to Jerusalem unto Zedekiah, king of Judah, and command them to say unto their masters, when the messengers get there, say this to your masters. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, thus shall ye say to your masters, I have made the earth. So these messengers are going to say to the masters what the Lord has told them to say. I have made the earth, the man and the beast that are upon the ground by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed meet or necessary unto me. So God has given Nebuchadnezzar power to rule the whole world until he returns. This is the beginning of the Gentile dynasty, the beginning of the Europeans ruling the world. Go on and read, what else?
And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant.
See, this is the beginning of the Babylonian dynasty, though, right? He said, and now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant. Not that he serves God in a righteous capacity. He serves God by doing what God has set him up to do. And that's to rule this whole world. And he said, and the beasts of the field have I given him also to serve him. Go ahead and read.
And all nations shall serve him, and his son.
Wait a minute. He said, and all nations going to serve him, and who else?
And his son.
And his son. Keep reading.
And his son.
And his son's son. So their rulership going to go on for a long time. It's going to carry on for generation after generation after generation. And all these nations going to have to come up under the rule of this dynasty. And all nations shall serve him and his son and his son's son until when?
The very time of his land come. And then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him.
Okay, now I want to show you something. I want to show you something. Just in addition to what people are saying, just in addition to what people like to say regarding next year being a 400-year prophecy. Just let me show you something regarding this, because right here, regarding Gentiles, it says here, and all nations shall serve him, and his son and his son's son until the very time of his land come, and then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves him. So they're going to be a power until the Lord come and cut it to an end. Lord going to take it down, right? All right, go ahead and read verse 8. Now I'm going to look at something Daniel. What is that verse 8?
And it shall come to pass that the nation and the kingdom which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, saith the Lord, with the sword and with the famine and with the pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand.
But notice what he's saying here, right? And I want you to pay attention to this, because it's so many people be asking these questions. Like I was talking to I think I was talking to African the other day. I might have been driving him around doing some Uber and stuff. And he said to me, why do these Europeans think they have power to do this stuff? And I told him, I said, God put them in this position. And he's like, but who are they to say who can be a slave? And I'm just saying to myself, he was asking those type of questions, asking who are they to say who can have this amount of land, who can do this. And I'm just saying to myself, because I'm trying to explain to him that God is the one that set this up. There's nothing we can do, man. And that's what people have to understand. God is the one that put them in power. That's why he said in verse 8, and it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which would not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that would not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, saith the Lord, with the sword and with the pestilence. And with the famine and with pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand. So the Europeans got Jesus on their side. I just want you to know, so you can't fight what God has set up. Not to say that they was better than anybody, nothing like that. But listen, everybody had a chance to rule the world. Everybody dropped the ball. So now the Gentile is ruling the world but it's not going to be forever. He says here in verse, he said, until the very time of his land come, right? So in other words, it's not going to be forever. It's going to come to an end eventually. Go to Daniel chapter 11 right quick. Daniel chapter 11. Daniel 11, and we're going to pick this up at, let's see here. I'll turn that cold air on. Turn it down. Give me 1 second, y'all. Daniel chapter 8, I'm sorry. Daniel chapter 8. And let's see here, because now when you go to the book of Daniel, you're looking at when you go to Daniel, you're actually looking at the Gentile dynasty. All right. By the time in Daniel chapter 7, it starts off talking about giving you kind of breaking down how this dynasty gonna come into play. Then when you get into Daniel chapter 8, as a matter of fact, Daniel 7 starts out with Nebuchadnezzar, goes off to the Medo-Persian Empire, which would be Darius and the Mede, Cyrus and the Persian. Then it goes down to Alexander the Great. Then it goes down to the Roman Empire. When you get into Daniel chapter 8, it picks up with the second part. It doesn't have to describe to you or talk to you about the beginning of Nebuchadnezzar, because now we out of here. It has already been passed on now from Nebuchadnezzar down to the Medo-Persian Empire. So when Daniel chapter 8, it's referring to the same Gentile dynasty, but it's giving you information about Belshazzar, which is Nebuchadnezzar's grandson, but it's not going to really give you information regarding the Nebuchadnezzar's part, his what am I looking for? I guess his part, his piece in the puzzle, is out of the way right now. Now we're going into the next three. The next three pieces of the puzzle as far as the Gentile dynasty is concerned. That's what it's referring to in Daniel chapter 8. So Daniel chapter 8, verse 23, I just want to show you something. We're still talking about the Gentile dynasty. Daniel 8 and verse 23. Go ahead and read. What does it say, brother?
And in the latter time of their kingdom.
Right. So in the latter time of this kingdom, the Gentile dynasty, at the end of their kingdom, he said, and in the latter time of their kingdom, what?
When the transgressors are come to the full.
Now, the reason why I wanted to point this out, it says when the transgressors are come to the full, what's going to happen?
A king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up.
Okay, so we talking about this man that's coming out of Rome. All right, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king understanding dark, fierce countenance, and understanding dark sentences, he gonna get up. Because now we at the end of this kingdom now. See, this guy gonna come up and the Lord gonna end up killing him. And then the Lord gonna take over this kingdom and rule forever. But it's gonna happen what? When the transgressors are come to the full. And I'm bringing this up because a lot of people like to think that next year, the 400-year prophecy is going to be complete. But if you look at Genesis 15, from 13 to 18, you'll see that the 400-year prophecy was referring to us being up under the Egyptians or under Ham. He said when the time of the Amorites is full. No. He said when the iniquity of the Amorites. I'm bringing this up because it's the same thing that's going on in our time. We just got two different kingdoms. All right, so Genesis 15 and verse hold on. I think it's Genesis 15 and 16. Genesis 15 and 16. So pay attention to the language that's being said in Genesis 15 and 16. And we're going to move past it. I just want to show you something. Genesis 15 and 16. Read that for me.
But in the fourth generation.
Now, this is the Lord talking to Abraham now, right? Talking about his seed going into captivity. He said, but in the fourth generation, what?
They shall come hither again.
So they're going to come out of captivity. They coming to the land. He said in the fourth generation, they should come hither again for what?
For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
Oh, he said for the iniquity of the Amorites. The Amorites come out of Ham. So once their sin has got to the full, then the Lord going to take down the Hamites. The Amorites going to take them down. So now we're in the end of the world, showing you the difference between that time and our time. We got to wait till what? We go back to Daniel chapter 8. Daniel chapter 8 and read verse 23.
And in the latter time of their kingdom,
and the end of their kingdom, the latter time of their kingdom, what?
When the transgressors are come to the full.
Oh, wait a minute. He said when the what has come to the full?
The transgressor.
So transgressing and iniquity mean the same thing. But we're under the Gentile dynasty now. See, these are the Europeans that are ruling the world. But we got to wait for their sin to come to the full, just like it was with Ham when his sin came to the full. When it reached its peak and it was enough, hey, the Lord came and took it down. They got to the point they beat Israel so bad, the Lord saw the bond, and the Lord was like, that's enough. And that's exactly what's going to happen with the European dynasty, the Gentile dynasty. He said what? In the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors or iniquity, same thing, come to the full, that's going to be the end of it. Now the Lord's getting ready to return. Now let's go to Luke chapter 21. Luke 21. Luke 21, bringing us down to the end of the world. Let's see who's still going to be in power. Luke 21, pick this up at verse, start at verse 24.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword.
Talking about Israel going into captivity. He said they're going to fall by the edge of the sword. Go ahead.
And shall be led away captive into all nations.
They're going to be led away captive. This is what happened to Israel during the time of 70 AD. You're going to start seeing some of this stuff come to pass. Peace to the brothers on Facebook also. But you're going to start seeing some of this stuff come to pass after Jesus died. And then around 70 AD, about 40 years after Jesus died, around 70 AD, that's when the Romans came down and took out our forefathers. And we started going off into captivity. You know, around 130 AD, that's when they got us out of there for good, though. But this is going to start the process. He said they're going to fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive. See, even Jesus is talking about slavery. He said they're going to be led away captive. See, this didn't happen to the people that called themselves Jew. It was only one nation of people that this happened to. He said they're going to fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into what?
All nations.
Not some nations, all nations. Israel is scattered all over the world. He said they're going to be led away captive. Shall be led away captive into all nations. What's going to happen?
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles.
And Jerusalem going to be trodden down of who?
Of the Gentiles.
Oh, so you mean to tell me the Gentiles are still running it, eh? This is why you seen when they first came up, when we took you back to Genesis. What's up, Justin? When we took you back to Genesis, the book of Genesis chapter 10, where you see where the Lord gave them the land. He said, by these were the eyes of the Gentiles divided, right? Then we took you over to Jeremiah, showing you how he was going to send trouble out of the north. And then he said, what the Gentiles, destroy the Gentiles is on his way, coming from the north. Then he said he was going to put all the power into his hand. And then the son, you're going to have to bow down to their sons until the end of the world. And now we at the end of the world. And guess what's happening? They still in power. But now the Lord is on his way. This is why you know, it don't do us no good to try to fight against it. You know what I'm saying? Well, all we have to do is just, like he said in Jeremiah 17, you better get over there, build some houses, plant you some garden, get you some wives, have some children, because you finna go into captivity. You're gonna be there for some time. You better chill out, because if you relax, you know, like they would say, if master is sick, we sick. Listen, if master is sick, we sick. Let's not get master sick. Leave him alone. You know what I'm saying? The Lord will take care of all this. What we need to do is pray for pray that the Lord have mercy on us. He said he'll be a little sanctuary to us in this captivity. But he said they're going to fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. What else?
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles.
Keep reading.
Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Oh, so the Gentiles got a particular time that they have to rule also. That's why he said what? Jerusalem going to be trodden down of the Gentiles, by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. You've seen some of their power take place early this year, where Trump went on and said, we're going to move the capital, we're going to move the embassy over into the capital, into, I think, Jerusalem. And couldn't nobody stop them because they got the power. You see, like they run the world. But this is where it all started from. This is how God set them up. So the Europeans today, this would be your Gentile. Hopefully that was hopefully that helped out on that.
Everyone else is now unmuted.
We got any questions on the phone?
Hello.
Hey, Brother John.
Hello.
Hey, Brother John, how you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
Amazing.
That's good. That's good. Good to hear your voice.
Oh yeah. I want to ask. I was doing some reading, and I was looking up some stuff on the internet, and I was, telling some people that it's that you're not supposed to have like funerals in churches.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard a preacher on the internet said, well, the only reason that they didn't have that touching dead body and all that stuff back then, that was what he tried to say is not for today. That otherwise you can have funerals in churches if you want to, but that was for the people back in the Old Testament and things like that. So I'll let you give me some input on it.
Okay, that's a good question. Give me 1 second.
Everyone else is now muted.
All right, so for those online, Brother John had brought up. He was saying how he was telling somebody that we weren't supposed to have funerals in churches. So he said he saw somebody preaching saying that was for the old days. And, granted, I understand why a lot of people say that, because, a lot of that stuff did pertain to the land. So I just gotta remember something. Don't let me forget to touch on what we talked about Saturday. We were asking about the brother and his wife. A brother, if you have a brother.
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you
25.
Yeah, don't let me forget before we get done. But so yeah, we're not in the land today, and a lot of that stuff did pertain to the sanctuary, where the Lord Himself would actually dwell. So let's go look at Leviticus chapter, I believe. Let's see here. It might be Numbers. Give me 1 second. Oh boy, let's see. Okay, so let me see if it's number 17. Okay, Leviticus chapter 15, and we're gonna pick this up at verse. Let's start at verse. I'm reading this because I just want to kind of show you how there were different things that weren't allowed back in the day, but just showing you relative to where it was at, So Leviticus, pick this up at verse
chapter 15.
Yeah. Go ahead and read.
Verse 1.
Yeah, you started verse 1.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When any man hath a running issue out of his flesh, because of his issue he is unclean. And this shall be his uncleanliness in his issue, whether his flesh run with his issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is his uncleanliness. Every bed whereon he lie that hath the issue is unclean, and everything whereon he sit shall be unclean. And whosoever touches bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening. And he that sit on anything whereon he sat that hath the issue shall wash his clothes.
All right, skip down to verse 14.
And on the 8th day he shall take to him 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Okay, so notice where he got to go to now. Because he unclean, you know, he got to clean himself up. You know, it was certain things that had to take place in order for this to be done, in order for you to get clean and stuff like that. But skip down to verse, let's skip down to verse, let's see here. Let's start at verse 16. I just want to read something. We're going to get to the day about it, but I just want to kind of show you some things. But go ahead and read 16.
And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water, and be unclean until the evening. And every garment and every skin wherein is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water.
Go ahead.
And be unclean until the evening.
Right, so we just talking about if you done had sex with a woman, you're unclean. Go ahead and read. What else? Verse 18.
The woman also with whom man shall lie with the seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water, and be unclean until the evening.
Right, but you know, even though we ain't in the land, you still unclean. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you still unclean. You know, but I'm just showing you these are some of the things that the Lord has set up. All right, go ahead and read. What else?
And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days. And whosoever touch her shall be unclean until the evening.
Right, but you're still unclean, but you still don't want to be, you don't want to, you know, it's forbidden for you to lay with a woman while she's on her period, on her menstrual. You ain't supposed to be doing that. You understand? Even though you ain't in the land, hey, you know, it's still good. Hold on 1 second. It's still good. I got a pet, and I don't know if my pet is going on. But it's still good. You're still unclean, right? But keep reading.
And everything that she lie upon in her separation shall be unclean.
Right. So we don't have the capability at this particular time right now to be able to afford that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? To put them aside, but that don't mean that they ain't unclean. You know what I'm saying? Then you look at the world as a whole, the world is unclean. You know what I'm saying? So we get that, we understand that, but there are some things that we can do ourselves, you know, where we don't have to put ourselves in these predicaments. Like, you ain't got to lay with your wife while she's unclean. You know, go ahead and read. What else?
Everything also that she sit upon shall be unclean. And whosoever touch her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening. And whosoever touch anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening.
Right. So, and I'm not saying that you got to do this, you know what I'm saying? But because when you look at it, you know, she's supposed to be put away in the first place. You see what I'm saying? So, like, you can turn around and wash your clothes, but listen, she doesn't defile the whole house anyway. You know what I'm saying? But back then, during that time, this is how God had things set up. You know, and all this stuff meant something. You know, but at the same time, you don't have to lay with your wife while she on her period. You can avoid that, right? But he said, if any man, read verse 24.
And if any man lie with her at all, and her flower be upon him, he shall be unclean 7 days. And all the bed whereon he lies shall be unclean.
Okay, so now this is if a man laying down with his wife and she happened to come on her menstrual while they laying down together. Now he unclean for 7 days also. If any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, he didn't go in unto her while she was unclean. It happened to happen while they were, laying down together. That's when it happened. Not knowingly, in other words. And if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, and he shall be unclean 7 days, and all the bed whereon where he lied shall be unclean, right? So now let's skip down to verse 30. Well, no, 29. All right, go ahead.
And on the 8th day, she shall take unto her 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons and bring them unto the priest.
So now we're going through the process of what she needs to do to clean herself, right? So we see we got the priest involved, which is something we don't have today. All right. Then you see that she's gonna bring 2 turtles. She's gonna bring 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons. Then it says, and bring them unto the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. Go ahead and read what else?
And the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering.
Right. And so I wanted to read this to kind of show you that this is why these preachers make these statements. Well, this was for back then. And I'm showing you like, okay, they did have this stuff set up, and you had a proper protocol set up to allow to show you what to, show God, being obedient to God. But this would purify you after you went through your process. So we don't have this set up today, but it still don't mean that you ain't dirty though. You're still dirty though. We just don't have a process to go through to clean ourselves up, because the whole land is defiled now. You know what I'm saying? And we ain't got the priest set up to kind of, fix this type of stuff, but you still dirty, you still unclean, all right? But go ahead and read what else you say, brother.
And the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her before the Lord for the issue of her uncleanness.
So he gonna, what's up, brother Jay? It's saying the Lord the priest gonna make an atonement for her before the Lord for the issue of her uncleanness. What else?
Thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness, when they defile my tabernacle that is among them.
Oh, wait a minute. See, this is what I wanted to bring out, because even though it was it was things that was did back then, it was very important. But today we don't have it here. But look at what was going on back then. This was stuff that they was do coming up to the tabernacle. Listen, you need to clean yourself up before I kill you. That's why I say, listen, thus shall you separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness when they defile my tabernacle that is among them, right? So Jesus was actually among Israel. That tabernacle that they had built up and stuff like that, listen, he was among them. So he ain't want them coming around them unclean, right? However, at the same time, we just kind of, what we do today, there are certain things that we can help. And if we can help, we're going to try to practice it to the best of our ability. You understand? We're not going to just say, okay, well, forget it. We're going to bring a dead body in the church. That don't make sense. If we can help it, let's just keep them at the morgue. I've seen a preacher. I've seen my teacher, Brother Elijah, preach a funeral at a morgue. What it come? That's what it come out of. Where the people come visit the body and all that. That's the morgue.
I think so.
Mortuary. Well, where they hold the dead bodies at. Where people get to come see him and all that. He preached the class there. The family came there and everything. The family didn't. Brother Will, it was Brother Will's wife. He didn't want them. He didn't want that. He didn't want that his wife being buried, having a service in the church. And we was fine with it, and everybody else was fine with it. So some things we can help. We don't have to make that excuse and say, well, that was for back then. Thou shalt not kill was for back then. We still do it though, right? A lot of things were for back then, but thou shalt not commit adultery was given back then. You can help that, even though the priest ain't here. You still can help that, right? Likewise, with this right here, listen, we can help some things so we don't do it. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 21. Leviticus chapter 21. What's up, brother Chris? Hope you doing okay, man. Get them Duke tickets. Leviticus chapter 21. Let's pick this up at verse 11. Leviticus 21, verse 11. What did that say, brother?
Neither shall he go in to any dead body, nor defile himself for his father, or for his mother.
Okay, so now this is referring to the priest, right? Now he can it says in verse 10, and he that is the high priest among his brethren, upon whose head the anointing oil was poured, and that is consecrated to put on the garment, shall not uncover his head, nor rend his clothes. Neither shall he go in to any dead body, nor defile himself for his father or for his mother, right? So this is making you dirty, though. You understand? So purposely, why would we bring the dead body in the church? You see what I'm saying? Like, even though we understand that the world is already unclean for the most part, we get that, but it's some things that we can help. We're not gonna bring a dead body in the church. You know what I'm saying? Like, we like to say, that's what we have church at. Let's keep the dead body out of the church. Let's not purposely bring a dead body in the church knowing it's already unclean. If you're dealing with it, as a matter of fact, if you're dealing with a dead body, you can, and the Passover rolls around, you cannot partake in the Passover. But guess what? That's good all the way down to our time. We have a second time. The Lord gives you an additional, another opportunity, I should say, to take the Passover if you happen to come in contact with a dead body around the first Passover. But that's even good to our time because it's unclean. So we ain't going to purposely bring the dead body in the church. You know what I'm saying? We'll leave it at the mortuary where it's at. But like I say, the preachers, they like to throw everything out. They don't want to do nothing. They throw everything out. Oh, that was back then. Okay, that's not kid was back then. That's not committed adultery back then. So just give your wife up to somebody. Oh, that's good though. He said, neither shall he go into any dead body, nor defile himself for his father or for his mother. So now let's go look at something. Let's go to Numbers chapter 6. And I think this is regarding Nazarite vow. Let's see here. Man, vow Nazarite. Okay, this ain't the one I want. Numbers chapter 19. Let's check that out right quick.
19?
Yeah, Numbers 19. Now this right here is referring to what would be required to clean yourself up, right? You know, when they offer up the red heifer and stuff like that, which is what they're gonna try to do in the future here real soon. But they're gonna use the ashes from this heifer in the water that they're gonna mix to clean you up if you dirty by way of certain things. But look at verse 11. What does it say, bro?
He that touched the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days.
Oh, notice what he say though. He said, he that touched the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days, right? Now I want to show you something. Let's see here. Which dead body should be cut off. Okay, now skip down to verse 14. Check out verse 14. No, hold on 1 second. He's gonna purify himself on the 3rd day. 7 days shall be clean, but he should, if he purify not himself the 3rd day, then the 7 days shall not be clean. 13, whosoever touch the dead body of any man that is dead, and purify not himself, defile the tabernacle of the Lord. So, like, you couldn't even come inside the tabernacle, not much less bringing a body in there. Like, you couldn't even touch the dead body and come inside there. You understand? So, like if the Lord chooses to set his name somewhere, we're not gonna purposely bring a dead body in the church. You understand? Like we got a location set up where we keeping the Sabbath day, we keeping the feast days and stuff like that, Bible study and stuff like that. We're not gonna sit up and purposely bring a dead body in, because we know this significance of it. But just imagine if God was here himself and he had his tabernacle here, like, you get killed for doing something like that. And we ain't talking about even bringing the body in. We talking about you coming in and all you did was touch it. He said in verse 13, read that for me.
Whosoever touched the dead body of any man that is dead and purify not himself.
Right, so you got to go through those rituals and cleaning yourself up. Not to say that it makes it in God's eyes, you going through the formalities, which makes a big difference. But the point is, listen, you got to do something to get this mess off you. And we ain't talking about, we talking about putting these, these ashes of this heifer and this water gonna cleanse you. But you got to go through this because it's unclean. He said, whosoever touch the dead body of any man that is dead and purify not himself, defile the tabernacle of the Lord. And what else?
And that soul shall be cut off from Israel, because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him. He shall be unclean.
Keep reading.
His uncleanliness is yet upon him.
Right, so you unclean because of the dead body. What did he say in verse 14?
This is the law, where a man die in the tent.
Right, so it's saying, now this is the law when a man die in a tent. Go ahead and read.
All that come into the tent.
Right, so he done died inside the tent. In our case, inside the hospital. Inside this hospital, and we go inside the hospital, and what happened? Go ahead.
And all that is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days.
And everybody that's in there gonna be unclean for 7 days. For 7 days. But this is serious though. You done walked into the hospital room, man dead. You unclean for 7 days. Now I know people like to say, well, don't come to church and stuff like that. But like I said, listen, the whole world is defiled. And if you want to take that measure, that's fine. But you still got to go through the process. You got to have the priest to do this, got to get the heifer. You know what I'm saying? Right. But at the same time, listen, we're not going to make light of it, though. Some things I can't control. I'm not going to bring a dead body inside a place where we worship at. You understand? Like, that's like an ultimate disrespect. But we just showing you how important it was to God. Don't bring that dead body around me. Don't bring this out of church. If we call ourselves, if this is supposed to be the church where we serve God at, how are we going to sit up and disrespect God and bring a body in? A dead body in it. That's how you know they're on something else, Brother John. Then he says what? Read verse 15 for me.
And every open vessel which have not covering bound upon it is unclean.
Right, so say you got some, you got a bottle of water or something in there. And it's open. He dead. It's unclean now. Throw it out. No, that's the best example. Whatever open vessel you got in there, it's unclean now. Verse 16.
And whosoever touch one that is slain with a sword in the open fields, or a dead body, or a bone of a man, or a grave.
Wait, what?
Or a grave.
Keep reading.
Shall be unclean 7 days.
Right, but you see how important this is. He said, whosoever touch one that is slain with a sword in the open fields, or a dead body, or a bone of a man, or a grave. A grave, he already in the grave. He already in the ground. Shall be unclean for 7 days. So he goes into it. Now let's go look at one more thing. Let's go look at one more thing regarding this. I wanted to look at the one in Passover. Let's see here. Give me 1 second to pull this up. Okay, Numbers chapter 9. We're going to show me who defined by a dead body. It's showing you like what this is really doing. Numbers 9. Okay, we're going to look at, it shouldn't bring me up to Exodus. Numbers 9. All right, let's see here. All right, read that. Go to Numbers chapter 9, pick it up at verse 1. And I'm going to look at why you read that. All right, go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the 2nd year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, let the children of Israel also keep the Passover at its appointed season. the 14th day of this month at even. Ye shall keep it in the appointed season, according to all the rites of it, and according to all the ceremonies thereof, shall ye keep it.
Right.
And Moses spake unto the children of Israel that they should keep the Passover. And they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the first month at even in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that the Lord commanded Moses. So did the children of Israel.
Go ahead. So now we're talking about the Passover, which they kept, right? And they kept it in their appointed season. But let's just pay attention to how God is going, how the Lord is so, because somebody got to deal with the dead bodies. Everybody don't got to deal with them though. You know what I'm saying? You got morticians that deal with dead bodies. You know what I'm saying? And they got a place where they hold these bodies at. You know, so us being in the Word and understanding how significant it is or important to God, we gonna leave it there. We ain't gonna bring it off into the church. And it's not like the dead knows anyway. They dead. It ain't like they gonna trip. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, why you take me to church? They don't care. You know, but we just try to do the best we can, understanding and knowing how important this was to God. So it said there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man, that they could not keep the Passover on that day. So they were defiled by a dead body. They couldn't keep the Passover in verse 6. Okay, go ahead and read. What else?
And there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of man that could not keep the Passover on that day.
So now this is still good for you, Brother John, even all the way down to this time. If you come in contact with a dead body on Passover, you can't take the Passover that day. You just can't do it. And there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man, that they could not keep the Passover on that day. They were unclean. Keep reading.
And they came before Moses and before Aaron on that day.
That's right. Keep reading.
Those men said unto him, we are defiled by the dead body of a man. Wherefore are we kept back, that we may not offer an offering of the Lord in his appointed season among the children of Israel.
Right. So they're asking a question. So we can't offer up an offering to the Lord in his appointed season for the children of Israel. Moses is like, hold on one second. Let me see what the Lord's gonna say about this. Because, you know, Passover, we got to keep that. You know, I mean, that's important, right? That shows us Jesus. That shows us Jesus down for the sins of men. So that's very important, right? But they done came in contact with a dead body. So let's see what Moses is going. He's going to inquire of the Lord regarding this situation. And notice what the Lord is going to say. Read verse 8 for me.
And Moses said unto them, stand still, and I will hear what the Lord will command concerning you.
Keep reading.
The Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, if any man of you or of your posterity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body.
Now, keep this in mind now. The Lord is asking the question because these brothers want to know, what are we supposed to do, you know, knowing that we have come in contact with a dead body, we can't keep the Passover. So Moses is inquiring of the Lord. The Lord is responding now. He says, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, if any man of you or of your posterity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or being a journey afar off, yet he should do what?
Keep the Passover until the Lord.
So the Lord said he can keep the Passover, but he ain't gonna be able to keep this one though. In other words, you dirty now, bro. You dirty now. Go ahead and read verse 11.
The 14th day of the second month.
Oh, so the Lord gonna give you the Lord's gonna now put an amendment in there. He said the 14th day of the second month. Go ahead and read.
At even, they shall keep.
Right, because you shouldn't be coming into contact with a dead body 30 days from now. Right. You understand? All right, the first time, all right, okay. Because somebody got to deal with these dead bodies. Right. You understand? Somebody had to deal with them, but it's so important that the Lord, like, nah, you ain't taking it on this Passover. Not this first one. You take it next time, because next time you're gonna be clean. The 14th day of the second month at evening, they shall keep it and do what?
And eat it with unleavened bread, and bitter herb.
That's right, keep reading.
They shall leave none of it until the morning, nor break any bone of it. According to all the ordinances of the Passover, they shall keep.
Right, so in the second month, they're going to do it the same way they would do in the first month. He said, ain't going to leave none of it until the morning. neither break any bone of it. That's because that's representation of Jesus. He couldn't have no bones broken in his body. It had to be a perfect sacrifice, right? According to all the ordinances of the Passover, they shall keep it. What he's saying, 13.
But the man that is clean.
Now pay attention now. Because see, we got these brothers or these people who came in contact with a dead body. God giving them an amendment. He's giving them, giving them some extra time. Come back next month and you can do it over. But for the ones who is clean and what?
And is not in a journey.
And you ain't went off in no journey. Go ahead.
And forbear to keep the Passover.
And you just hard-headed. You don't want to keep the Passover. Keep reading.
Even the same soul shall be cut off from among his people.
And the Lord gonna kill you. What else he say?
Because he brought not the offering of the Lord in his appointed season. That man shall bear his sin.
But just pay attention to how important that was. That was very important for you to keep the Passover. The Lord allowed. So important that if you don't do it, he gonna kill you. But he understand that, it's important, but I don't want you dealing with no dead body, man, coming off of me nothing. That's unclean. So with us understanding that, knowing that the world is defiled, we still not gonna sit up here and bring a dead body inside the church. You understand? So hopefully that helps out, Brother John.
Everyone else is now muted. Everyone else is now unmuted.
Wait, right?
So hopefully that helped out, Brother Jonathan.
Huh?
I say hopefully that helped out.
Yeah, therefore you're not supposed to bring a dead body in church in no time, right?
No, sir. We don't do it at all.
Right. That's what I thought, but I just want to get a clarification from you,
I understand.
I know that you're not supposed to bring a dead person in the church.
Right.
For one, it's a lot of spirits with them. And some people, they leave them in the church all night.
They sure do.
They don't realize them spirits be roaming around in there.
Yeah, I just know we don't do it, so.
Yeah.
Well, I got time to take one more question. I got time to take one more question. From anybody. Do we have any other questions online or the phone line? I heard somebody clearing their throat. Like they was about to ask a question. Go ahead. What you say, brother? Brother Darren?
Yes. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? I'm doing good.
I was reading in the Jewish Almanac.
Mm-hmm.
And 1980 Jewish Almanac. And it was talking about that the Jews or the so-called the Jews that's in Jerusalem, saying that they cannot be called a Hebrew or an Israelite.
Really?
It's called a modern day. That's what it's called. That a modern day Jew cannot be called a Hebrew or an Israelite.
Really? That's why they call themselves Israelis?
Yeah.
Or Jewish?
Obviously, they know that they cannot connect themselves to the biblical Jews.
Wow.
And there's some information about that too, that they cannot connect themselves to the biblical Jews.
Right.
So that's why they go by the off-brand name of Israeli or Jewish.
Wow, that makes sense. Because they don't do it. It's 11 other tribes out there. They don't attach to none of them. They just call themselves Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. I was saying to somebody, I think today, it might have been yesterday, how you got all these Israelites starting to wake up now. How you gonna defend this, man? Like you being a fake Jew all these years, you've been lying. And all of a sudden, all these Israelites waking up all over the world, and you got to keep lying, man. You got to keep trying to cover it up, but it's like you're being exposed, man. But it's happening, it's happening on a faster pace now, and it's happening everywhere.
I've been saying that to some people also, that where in time have we've seen, and if you're at a certain age, if you're 50 years old, you should know a lot of it, that black people in America, where in time have we seen black young men and women reading the Bible, preaching the Bible, all over, even out on the street corner.
Right.
It's a phenomenon that hadn't happened in America.
Right. That's why I like people may think this is a fad, but this ain't a fad right here. This ain't something that's gonna, like the Lord say, like a woman in travail that's gonna bring forth. He even asked, he even mentions that she get ready to break forth and then she stopped. In other words, no, she going to labor, and guess what? Next thing you know, she had a baby, and that's what you're seeing now. Excuse me. That's what you're seeing now. This woman is travailing, and it's not like she got these birth pains going on, and it's not like she gonna stop. It's gonna like a fad that's gonna go away. No, what's getting ready to happen is getting ready to break forth. She getting ready to have a baby, man. And,
the scripture about can a nation be born in a day?
Mm-hmm.
Is that was referring to Israel coming out of Egypt? There was already a nation in Egypt, and then when it came out, there was a nation, and that's going to reflect the second coming of Christ, and the nation comes out of the nation.
I don't know. I gotta look at that. Yeah, I gotta see. Where is it at?
Jeremiah. He spells it Isaiah 66.
Okay, thank you. Peace, man. How you doing?
Doing well, brother.
Good. What verse? Oh yeah, that's the one I was. Where is it at? Let's see here. Yeah, I see the one we were just referring to. I don't see can a nation be born in a day right there. Oh yeah, there you go. Shall a nation be born at once? Thank you, brother. Yeah, yep. Isaiah 66. Read verse 7 from me, Mark. What it say?
Before she travailed, she brought forth.
Mm-hmm.
Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man child.
Mm-hmm.
Who have heard such a thing? Who have seen such a thing?
Mm.
Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day?
Mm-hmm.
Or shall a nation be born at once?
Mm.
For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children.
Go ahead. What else? Shall
I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth?
Right. So it's almost like we dealing with God that called in from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna happen. But that's why he say, in verse 9, like he telling you, like in other words, before it even happened, he already telling you about it. It's just that to everybody else, it may seem like it's just happening out of nowhere. But we looking at it. We starting to see it unfold. That's why I say, shall I bring to the birth? Matter of fact, that's the same what I was referring to, Darren, Brother Darren. It's the same thing, the same actual place that you was referring to also. Yours is in verse 8, mine in verse 9. And he said, shall I bring to the birth and not cause her to bring forth? And we know that don't happen, you know, when it comes to a woman having a child. You know, she don't go through all that labor pain. She don't start contracting and, you know, dilating centimeters and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, they just go in reverse. You know what I'm saying? It actually happens, don't it? It come to pass. That's why he says, shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth? What else he say?
Saith the Lord.
Uh-huh.
Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb?
Right, so it's ready to be born, you know, and then he just shut the womb. No, that's not going to happen. That's why I say this right here, what we doing, this ain't a fad. This is not something that's going to fade away. Actually, what's going to happen is going to start getting more and more prevalent. And it's going to start picking up more and more and more, just like a woman that's getting ready to have a child. But when Israel come, when that day when it's brought forth, another place tell you that the bride going to come forth out of her closet. You know what I'm saying? In other words, at that point, it's going to be revealed to the world. But we're revealing it now, but ain't nobody paying attention. So it's going to be like it just came out of nowhere. Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. So the Lord is like, in this instance, already calling what's going to happen before it even takes place. You know, so. But that's what I see on that, man.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good scripture, though, man. Yep. I come from the time where, you know, we didn't see this coming up. You know what I'm saying? Like you say 50, 40s, probably 35. I say 35. I say 35. I think 35 and up had to witness, you know, some of the fire and brimstone preaching. You know what I'm saying? Where it was none of this. It wasn't this at all. It was definitely none of this. Not at all. So to see it happening like this right now is definitely amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a blessing to be alive to actually see it and experience it. You know, so. But do we have any other questions before we close out?
So excuse me, I'm gonna ask this brother John again. So in other words, too, another thing I was telling you, the sanctuary, the church is supposed to just be used for church service of praise and worship. But we don't worship the Lord, nothing else, right?
I mean, we keep the feast in there. We keep the feast. You know, we have.
That's what I mean, but I'm sorry, it's okay. I'm talking about like everything that's related to the Lord, you can do it in the church,
right,
like that, but not, you know, like people be having banquets and stuff, and you know, different contests and stuff, and you know, they use the church for everything. You know?
I mean, but that ain't unclean though. You know what I'm saying? That ain't unclean. Yeah. Like we had a wedding a few months ago. I mean, earlier this year in August, we had a wedding at the church. You know. So I mean, you can do those type of things, but we're not gonna knowingly do something we knew that pissed the Lord off at one point in life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what like stuff like selling in the church and stuff like that.
I mean, I ain't gonna sell on the Sabbath, but you know, we don't got nothing to sell anyway. But you know, I ain't gonna sell at no church. I'm not selling nothing at the church anyway. I ain't doing that.
Right.
I mean, but if somebody like say a little kid got a fundraiser or something, you know what I'm saying, selling some Snicker bars to try to raise money for a field trip or something. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't gonna be, you get what I'm saying? I ain't gonna be dumb deep. I ain't gonna be over righteous now. You know what I'm saying? But you have some people buy CDs and stuff like that. We just don't do that on the Sabbath. But if you can't buy a CD, you get it for free. It don't matter as long as you get the word. You see what I'm saying? So you know, different things cause you know, different things or different situations would require different results. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what the situation is. So, but it definitely ain't enough for me to get rich. My teacher, he went, nah, we ain't trying to get no Bentleys and all that. Nah, if we're gonna sell anything, it's gonna be for the church. If we're gonna sell some T-shirts, you know what I'm saying? Like, to represent the kingdom, that's about it. Ain't nobody getting rich off of it. We're gonna sell an album soon, though. But I'm gonna tell people it's to get some money off. So, but that's it, man. That's it. So. But I wanted to point out something. I'll point it out again this Saturday. Also, we were looking at some Saturday at church and Bible study. Brother asked the question regarding if a brother has a wife and he dies having no children, isn't that woman supposed to lay with her brother-in-law to have children? And let's read Deuteronomy chapter 25. And let's see what that stipulation was. Deuteronomy 25, because, if that's the case, we just be passing off our wives, and when they die, the brother be sitting there, if we ain't got no kids, they just gonna be able to do it. But God, it says, we should have read it this week. I don't know why we read it, but we reading it now. My wife pointed it out to me. She said she showed me what it said, and I was like, oh man, we should have read it. So now I know next time we just open it up and see what the book says. So Deuteronomy 25. Let's pick this up at what verse? 5, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Deuteronomy 25 and 5. Read that for me.
If a brother dwell together and one of them die.
Right. So notice what the stipulation is. He said, if brethren dwell together and one of them die. That means they live together. Right? They stay together. So he said, brethren dwell together and one of them die. What?
And have no child.
Uh-huh.
The wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger.
Uh-huh. So the wife of the dead shall not marry what?
Without unto a stranger.
Right. So if the brother living in the house, one brother died, then she not going to, don't go out of the house and go marry somebody else. Go ahead and read. What else?
Her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him to wife.
Uh-huh. So the brother that's living there, he's going to go into her and take her to him to wife. But it's going to all be done inside the same house. That's all. She ain't. And that's what this was referring to. But it was based on if they live together. And it makes sense, though. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense if they live together. The brother ain't have no children. Then don't go out and get with somebody else. Let the brother, he just going to raise up children with her in representation of his brother that passed away. Go ahead and read. What else?
And perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her.
And he gonna do what?
And perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which she bear shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead.
So like you say here, if the brethren dwell together, one of them die and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him to wife. So he gonna take her as his wife and and perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. So he gonna just treat her like she was his wife if his brother died. So that being said, we're gonna go and close out. Thank everybody for tuning in this evening. Definitely been a blessing time. Time definitely flies. Time definitely flies, man. I hope you guys were able to get edified this evening. So we're gonna go and close out. All right, there you go ahead.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done in earth.
Thy will be done in earth.
As it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily
Give us
bread.
this day our daily bread.
And forgive us our debts.
And forgive us our debts.
As we forgive our debtors.
As we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation.
And lead us not into temptation.
But deliver us from evil.
But deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom.
For thine is the kingdom.
And the power.
And the power.
And the glory.
And the glory.
Forever.
Forever.
In Jesus' name we pray.
In Jesus' name we pray.
In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
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 Oh, okay. Cephas. It was Deuteronomy 25:5. It says, if brethren dwell together, and one of them die and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. So the stipulations were if these brothers actually lived in the same household. That's why it says if brethren dwell together and one of these brothers die and have no child, okay, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. So in other words, she don't need to go outside the household to go find another husband. You know what I'm saying? The brother that's alive, he's going to take her as his wife and treat her just like the husband's brother supposed to do. She's going to take on and she's, like you said, her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him to wife and perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. And that's how that goes. It's not just any situation. You got a brother that don't live with you. Y'all ain't dealing with, even in the land. Y'all got a brother that he ain't in the same house as you. You die, and then he come out. No, he said if y'all dwell together, that means y'all live together. So that's what that was on, man. So hopefully that kind of clears that up. I know the stream has stopped on Facebook, so I don't know if we had enough time to catch it because I brought it back on. But other than that, man, I'd like to say peace to everybody in Jesus' name. You guys have a good night. Peace.
Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you very much. You do the same thing. All right.
That's number she would have another child.
Mm-hmm.
What
What is it?
He says it's similar to how.
Call recording is off.
Is it similar to?
She went there with Boaz.
Peace, everybody on Facebook. About to close out now. All right, let's see here.
Because Naomi was some kin to Boaz, huh?
It says that's similar to how Naomi told Ruth to go ahead and go since she wouldn't have another child. Well, she told her to go ahead and go. She was saying, I ain't gonna have another child. Are you gonna wait around for me to have another child? Saying that she's too old. You know what I'm saying? But that would have been the next thing. But that was, that situation right there was like, you're welcome, honey. That situation right there is like, that's far. And we talking about somebody that's already a grown woman waiting for this lady to have a baby, but you see the process of what happened. They actually went into, they passed it down like it was supposed to be done with the brother. It went into another family member though. Brother was actually next in line, or somebody in the family.
Between them two. Yeah, between Boaz and
that other guy,
his brother,
which was next in line, but he didn't do it, and then he passed off to Boaz. Yeah, Boaz got it. So you seeing some of that going on back then. So
protocol.
Mm-hmm. All right, peace, fam. Peace, brother Chris. Y'all have a good night, man. In Jesus' name.